So let's get on to Mal's topic.
Well, loot boxes have been in the news lately, so I figure we could talk about that.
Oh boy.
Loot Crate. By the way, if you go to
Loot Crates.
lootcrate.com/P5R, you can get $5 off your monthly subscription. This week,
Hashtag
$1
not
off.
sponsored.
yeah,
You can get your $1 off on your first 3 loot crates.
this week's
Just have to
theme
type
is
in.
D&D. We are not sponsored by Loot Crate.
Yeah, hashtag.
no.
Card packs, gachapon, all that, whatever, various types of microtransactions randomized. Because, what came out?
Shadow
of Mordor and the new Forza 7 to a degree is all got like these are like full $60 US games that are just increasingly having more and more microtransactions.
Battlefront 2 is going to have them as well.
Yep. Origins, just there was one of the top voted things on the game subreddit was like or no, not Origins. Just some game. I can't remember the title. It's one of the Warhammer Universes games.
Yeah.
But they're like, won't have loot boxes, and that was like voted like top front page or whatever. It's like that is enough to make news.
Yep.
So yeah, some people were like, this is getting ridiculous. This should be like the ESRB should label this as gambling, basically. And then they came out and they're like, this is not gambling. We won't label it as gambling. And they said that because there's an element of chance, but you will always receive in-game content. And they considered it more in line to CCGs and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. Yeah.
Mal just triggered 100 Yu-Gi-Oh fans.
I have been playing nothing but Yu-Gi-Oh for like 2 weeks.
That's why it's ironic, right?
So I have nothing but love for Yu-Gi-Oh. Anyway, so they said real gambling involves real cash, and games that involve real gambling will always receive the adults-oriented AO score from them. And most stores won't sell AO games, period. So it's like a death sentence if this got labeled as gambling for, And the ESRB is owned by video game publishers, so it's never going to happen from them.
Yeah.
Y'all got any thoughts on it?
Oh, this is the topic that I've kind of watched from the sideline.
It's the hot topic now.
Yeah, it's a very hot topic nowadays. I thought it was a quaint thing when it kind of... I mean, the biggest one I saw it in was Overwatch, and it's probably the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's very big.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. It was interesting. I didn't really like it all that much because I didn't like the idea that, on one hand, it's cool that you can get a box that gives you some cool crap, and it's like opening a pack of cards, which is, for some reason, really addicting to people.
It is addictive.
But what I didn't like immediately off the bat was that I couldn't get a currency to spend on what I really cared about unless you go open up loot boxes that turned into currency because you picked up duplicates. At least that's how it worked for Overwatch.
Yeah, sure.
God, like on one hand, it's not like on one hand I like it just because of the fact that again it just gives the opportunity to get cool stuff or just
it's more stuff.
The game. It's more stuff. You get to play the game. On the other hand, it's a pain in the ass, man. It's like I don't want half of that crap. I don't want to have to spend real money to get more boxes to get more crap that I don't want, just so that I can eventually get the currency to unlock what I want.
I mean, or they might be like things that you can use against other people online, like Battlefield 2 is the other thing coming out.
God, Battlefield 2,
which they're like the best items will not be in these boxes, they said, but there will be items that I should. Oh yeah, go for it.
I think that's probably my biggest thing about loot boxes is when there's items or boxes that can only be gotten with real money. Like, I don't even mind if it's a matter of if you spend premium currency, it's only, 10 coins, but if you spend in-game currency, it's 200 coins. I'm okay with that as long as I can still get all of the items without spending any extra money. That's when it starts getting bothersome to me. If it's only behind that.
I would say that there's some, like, it doesn't quite bother me if it's like these items would not exist unless it was for real money type thing.
I mean,
then you're not like missing out what you never would have gotten anyway type thing.
It's rough to even talk about Battlefront 2 because as of current, like from the beta that they're doing, you get credits at the end of every match when you succeed and you win. But apparently, how much you put effort into doesn't matter. Like you could be the worst player, you could be the best player, you're getting the same amount of credits. And from what people have been saying, it's a pretty big ass grind to get what you want specifically, even with the credits at the end.
Well,
and I don't like that. I do not like. I hate grinding, and the fact that you have a fucking loot box system in your game that does not alleviate a grind in any shape or form is.
It makes a bigger one.
It just makes it bigger. I hate that.
Today there was I saw that a patent Activision applied for a patent about 2 years ago.
Yes.
Did you see this?
Yes, I saw that.
I did not see this.
This is fucked up.
So, and it just got approved. So, clarification, just because you have a patent does not mean you will implement it. It also could stop other people from implementing this patent, even if you don't include it. But this is Activision. So, it was for matchmaking. And basically it would, if you've made a purchase, it would then start to matchmake you with people who have made more purchases basically on your team, so that you would be more incentivized to pull your weight in the team and buy more.
Pressure.
Yeah.
It also designed to place you in matches that are favorable for the item that you bought. So when you're placed into the game, you get a sense of satisfaction reward because like, oh wow, I bought this new item and I did way better. It gives you the idea that I should probably buy more stuff so that I can continue to be really good.
Yeah.
Or as players will think to themselves, so I don't handicap myself because I'm such an elite gamer. And it's no, the game just made it easier for you.
It's a very tricky topic.
Yeah.
I expect businesses to want to make more money, right? That's the thing about businesses. Yeah. And I'm fine with people having the choice of how they want to spend their money. The broad strokes and whatnot. But so I did quick research. Activision made $3.6 billion last year off of in-game content. EA made $1.3 billion. So this is big. Like this, they're just
big money.
Like now, other companies are like they're just seeing that as money just left there that they're not getting when they make a game. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean,
go for it.
Ever since microtransactions have been implemented in a game, for lack of English words, my first language, I should be good at this. The market and the economy, just for money wise, that has been within the gaming sector. Has tripled since microtransactions have really started to take hold. So there is definitely money to be made in this.
Yeah. And another thing is game development keeps going up in price.
Yes.
But the prices of games have been, maintained the same price for many, many years.
Yep.
We're getting to like almost a critical mass point here.
With inflation.
Right. So, I mean, you don't want your games just shooting up to $80 base, right? Or more.
God, no.
It's a necessary evil.
But the fact of I don't know. I agree and I don't, because isn't that what the whole DLC thing is, though?
Right, but microtransactions are just that on a smaller scale, to a degree.
And they make more money, apparently.
I would rather, instead of you implementing these loot boxes that are clearly more of a how much money can we get out of you, just give me a straight DLC and make it priced what it's worth. I would rather have a straight-up price that is, $80 for a game, but at least I know that it's $80 for a game, it's only $40. Oh, but you need this DLC, so there's 15, and this DLC, so there's 15, and in order to win in anything PvP, you must buy loot boxes.
Sure.
Before I know it, I've already spent.
I think the biggest problem comes from, getting a full game, obviously.
The other issue with DLC is that I don't have any obviously links now, but it's been proven that as a game's lifespan goes on, less and less people play the game, and even less and less people buy the DLC for it. So the more DLC comes out for a game, the less chances are that people are going to pay for that DLC and actually get it.
Just pack it in the original and charge it for freaking $80. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but plenty of people aren't.
No day one DLC.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
And, well, he's saying just make a big game and
No,
charge.
okay,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah,
not as DLC.
Make a full game and charge what
and then go ahead and charge me the extra $15 for 2 DLCs. Okay, so that's $30. Put them in the game. Charge me $90.
Well,
but at least I'm getting a
that's
full
not.
experience.
That doesn't quite work because you're saying add more for more money, which is fine. This is you're getting the same game that you get now, but being charged more because that's in line with development costs.
Well, no, but that's the thing though, is that they do cut out content specifically to hold back and hold as DLC.
Not
DLC
necessarily.
is designed
That's
when they're
not-
designing the game.
Well, that's not always true. I mean,
It can be happen. It can a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
it'll
different.
happen like in different stages because a game will go gold,
Yeah.
and then they have months of they can't work on the game.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
they work on
So
DLC.
they work on DLC.
That's like I actually just got into a conversation about somebody the other day. They were actually upset with the fact that they announced two characters that were going to be available for DLC for the new Dragon Ball Z fighter game, and they were really upset by this fact. And I was telling them it's not really fair to them because they might already be effectively at that point where they can't put it in. Because I mean, first off, fighting games are just not easy in general to make. They're actually very fucking difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the hardest games to make out there. Second thing is that they might not be able to implement them and keep them balanced for the game by the time this game has already been readied and marketed and shipped out and
Plus,
everything. So they can
there's
announce it
some-
now because that's the easiest part. It's like, oh, by the way, we have 2 more characters announced, but there's no way that they actually put it in before the game's released out.
Yeah. Plus, there's you have different stages. So the people who are on character creation or
Oh, yeah.
brainstorming are now working on new stuff for like a DLC because they can't program, right? They're not programming part of the game, so they're working on stuff for the future, like stage development.
Right, but I mean, there's a difference between having new stages and new characters and like cutting out whole character arcs. Like
Sure, but there's reasons why you can't just put DLC on all up
Yeah.
front.
Yeah, and I do agree. And again, ultimately, where I'm coming from is I would still prefer DLC done this way than loot boxes. To come back to the main point,
Right.
DLC is just, even if it's trickling out, that I'm still more fine with that than loot boxes.
And again,
because-
like if studies are showing though people aren't going to buy that DLC, then that's another reason they can't do that.
It's ultimately I get where you're coming from, Tats, because I prefer that they would just do DLC. Like I would
yeah,
rather they just do like a
perfect.
DLC weapons pack. I think that'd be fantastic because I'll just buy the weapons if I want them. And this might be for new weapons or they might be for new skins. They're not any better. They better not be better than the weapons that we have, but certainly if they get
But even if the
stuff-
DLC stuff is better, I'm okay. Because it's
Well,
still...
It depends. Like in PvP stuff, that's not cool.
yeah, it's not really cool for PvP stuff.
In PvE, I don't really care. But in
Yeah,
PvE,
I
like,
agree. I agree with that statement, yes.
But
Um,
it's just mostly that I'd rather not see loot boxes all that much.
but and then you've got Overwatch, which has the loot box system, which then their profits from that can get rolled back into the game, and because you got look at older multiplayer games, they do not receive or multiplayer modes or whatever, they don't receive updates for years.
Yeah.
But Overwatch is like you've got events and stuff happening.
But at the same time, Overwatch is run by Blizzard, and by God, Blizzard, for all the shit that they do receive, is a damn big company and is a very good company at what they do.
Right. I'm just saying, like, if
It's a great business
there's
model,
another
don't get
reason,
me
right?
wrong.
So,
It really is.
Don't
for
make
the
me go
business.
into chat and trigger Todd Meta. Anyways,
On the business side, microtransactions are great. They are a great source of revenue. And as Mal was saying, if it is getting funneled back into the game, great.
Right, like Destiny 1 did that too with the live team.
But how much of, in the grand scheme of things, we can say that these games are doing them right or wrong, but in the grand scheme of things, how many loot boxes are really just being conceptualized to put more money in the CEO's pocket? Which again, I realize that's what a company's for. That's video game market is companies, and they're in the game to make money. That's their bottom line, whether we consumers, want to admit that or not. But I don't know. There's an element of a morality, I guess, that people are seeing, and maybe it's a false morality that we as gamers are putting on it. But there's still that.
Ultimately, you would. Obviously, some people could get addicted to these, but a lot of people
it happens.
could just decide to, either spend it or not.
Yep. Well, the big
Buy it or
problem
not.
is I was trying to find this earlier at work, and I got sidetracked because I saw a news story on loot boxes and stuff a few years back, talking about CS:GO, where kids would use their parents' credit card to literally put them in debt and buy thousands of dollars worth of loot boxes and skins. So I mean,
that is a problem with loot boxes, but that's also a problem with parents not tracking.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, that's like when the parent like gives their phone to their kid to play, and then come to find out the kid's bought $500 worth of games that the parent doesn't have money to pay.
Yeah, and you know the company isn't going to like refund them that stuff.
Nope.
And it's kind of like not. It's probably not. I mean, again, we're not going to fault the companies for doing what they're set out to do, but it is kind of like morally
on
not
some
cool.
side, you should be a responsible consumer as well.
Yeah.
But 10-year-olds don't know better, probably.
Right.
I think ultimately, when we come to loot boxes, the things that I don't like about loot boxes come down to just a couple of things. First off, I think loot boxes, and I want to start this before I go back to what I was originally about to say here. Loot boxes in and of themselves are fine if they're generally just cosmetic items, which even nowadays I'm having a hard time justifying all these ass loot boxes, all this money, just to eventually get my cosmetic item when I could just, unlock it through just, getting credits in the game, not through a lengthy ass grind that'll take me 3 weeks. It's fine. What it becomes a problem is when you start releasing loot boxes, and even Overwatch is guilty of this. When you start releasing loot boxes that are thematic for a season, that the odds are you are not going to get what you want, and those loot boxes will not be around after a period of time, and means you might miss out on that skin. I hate that kind of shit.
I don't know.
Even if it's a cosmetic, the problem is that it incentivizes potentially
that's true.
to put more money into buying the loot boxes of that type while it's still available, so that you can get the cosmetic that you want.
But are you entitled to everything a game can offer?
I'm not going to say whether you are entitled or not to everything. I just don't like that practice.
But so here's a case in point example of, and I'm going to come from the position of, while as gamers we're not entitled to everything. In fact, when we were talking about the difficulty stuff, I said not even necessarily entitled to being able to finish every game that are on the market. But that being said, Smite is an example of a game that I jumped into, and I was enjoying the game, but there are a lot of just they're all cosmetics, but I will never have the chance to get, because I never got to be able to get into the game till later, and I'm screwed out of that just because. And again, it's not that I'm entitled to necessarily have it, but I'm still seeing everybody running around with them, and it still makes you long for them. Now, if they come back and they put the loot boxes back into, maybe it's not immediately, but eventually they put them back into circulation. That's one thing.
Well, from playing Smite myself, I know for a fact that they do bring some of the skins back from older loot boxes. Do. The problem is that oftentimes they're matched with 40 other fucking things.
Yeah, but then you've got people who want to be rewarded for having played the game, during that time necessarily.
I get that, but I just don't think that's a good enough justification. Why do you want to be rewarded because you play between X date and X date?
I mean, why do you have to have a cosmetic?
That's a different question again altogether. Why do you have to have one? But I don't feel there's ever a need to deny a cosmetic either.
Yeah, I think that's really ultimately the thing.
That's really what it comes down to, is that I don't like to see anything that incentivizes spending money for a cosmetic in any way. That should be simply because you want the cosmetic overall.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the game. So then what is the problem with you because even if you bring back that loot box, that means I'm going to spend more money on it. Why do you retire it when it has no effect on the game, and it just could bring you more money if you brought it back? There's no gain to.
Well, I mean, except from the business point aside, is they're a business to make money, so it will make them more money.
What I'm saying is like they have this loot box. It makes them money for Halloween. Then next Halloween, they don't bring it back, and this player wants those items from that Halloween box, but because he didn't have the game that first Halloween, he can't get them. Why not bring them back? It just makes the money for the company, makes that player happy that he has a chance to get these items. He's not necessarily going to.
Because you need new ones for people.
Probably the correct business model would be to make new ones for a new event, and so everyone has a chance at getting new stuff, and not just new people.
Can I just tell you something? The company that actually does this the best way I've ever seen, and I'm going to give a shout out to Final Fantasy 14 here in the Square Enix store.
Homer.
They do this. They have what's called the Mugo Shop, and you pay real money to get like little trinkets, cosmetic stuff, and that one and not. But every year they'll run like their thematic events, like in WoW, where it's like, oh, you'll have your Halloween event or you'll have your Christmas event, whatever. Generally, those come with some unique items. The next year that it comes around, that event comes up, they release last year's events onto that shop. So now you can just go buy the damn thing directly. Exactly. What you
ultimately,
want.
just not having loot boxes and just being able to buy what you want is the best thing.
I think that's the best one. But if we're gonna have to fucking deal with loot boxes, at least make it so that eventually you can just buy the item directly in the first place, which is what I ultimately want. I'd rather just pay for what I want.
I think here's the other thing too, is that we play games to enjoy ourselves, to escape from life. Like, nobody plays a game because they want to feel upset, feel grumpy, whatever.
Says you.
Well, yeah, says
yeah. Are you so sure about that, Tits?
I'm sure there are thousands of people queuing up to disagree with you. Already.
But then there's that
writing you a very angry letter.
But you know what I mean? Like, and despite, you know, like, playing Dark Souls or whatever, high difficulty games where you're getting upset, but you still have that sense of satisfaction at the end of the day when you complete things and whatever. Loot boxes don't feel fun. Like, I don't know. And again, I know that's me. That's me.
Other people are like,
Yeah,
yes, I finally got it. Triggering that same exact feeling.
Exactly.
But like, here's the
no, exactly. But I think my thing is that
I get where you're coming from, Tets. No, I exactly what you're saying.
And I'm also saying why.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, because it comes into like, it's like, well, yeah, it's like, yeah, you can get the sense like, finally, I got it, but you should never be saying, finally, I got that item, because that implies that it took you multiple attempts to get it through RNG basis alone.
Yeah,
I think that's the
lame.
thing.
I'm sorry, but that is just as a personal opinion. I think it's incredibly lame that you could put all this work into it, and then you get a box, and that box opens up, and it's like, fuck, I didn't get what I want, even though I put that work into it.
That's again the problem with that's the exact thing of collectible card games.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't bother with buying packs and collectible card games. I just buy the things that other people are selling.
But here is the difference. With collectible card games, I can go onto eBay and say, I'm looking for this card, and find somebody selling it.
Yeah.
Most of these loot boxes, you cannot sell those items.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they're exactly the same, but it causes the same issue.
But like, and I think that's why, like with loot boxes, there is the chance. And again, I know I'm saying
right.
chance.
And again, I've always again, it's just being able to buy what you want is the ultimate solution.
But I just mean like I don't know, like the fact that there's a chance that I could, like, say maybe a loot box costs $1, and I could pour in $500 for this one item that there's a 1 in 40 chance to get, and I could never get that item within that $500. That
would be infuriating as fuck.
Exactly. And
I guess.
The fact that there is this thing where, yeah, there is the guy who could spend the $1 and gets it, but there's just an equal chance for the guy who just like never does.
Right. And so the company's just like, I guess, weighing that. Right?
Yeah, but
across an average, they're not like
necessarily karmic balance. Somebody got on their first $1, so somebody's got to pay $500 to make up for it.
It's not just that it's the weighing of the options, but it ultimately comes down to that this guy gets screwed out of it, and I don't know. It's not. And the millennial special snowflake. It's not fair, and I think that's ultimately why, because we do want a fair playing field. That's why PvP, why it's an issue with PvP stuff, is because.
I mean, I would, I guess, argue that it would be fair if anyone could play any game. But that's not fair.
But it would be. It would be fair. And but I think that's why there's whole problems around that in and of itself. Like, why can't Dark Souls have an easy mode? Because that then levels the playing field and makes things fair. And I'm just saying that's why there is this reaction of the loot boxes should not be in, because of that feeling of, I never know. Maybe I am going to be that guy who spends $500 and doesn't get the $3 item.
Whales. There was someone on the when Fire Emblem Heroes came out. Some guy's like, I make a lot of money. I have plenty of disposable income. I dropped $1,000 on this game and didn't get Hector. I mean, he was just doing it for statistics. He didn't really care either way. But
right,
it happens. Sure.
All right, we have been very redundant on this topic. So
I know we have. It's just like, whew.